Please be with me in the spirit of prayer. Holy God, we come together today for the conclusion of the documentary of one of your most interesting and inspired people. As we watch this, help us think through our own nuances in our faith and our faith journeys and how we relate to Pierre Teilhard de Chardin and how that helps us relate to the rest of the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. First of all, I want you to see in the front of the bulletin, thank you, I think, Jessica, probably. We have a whole quote from our hero here.
Oh, no, that's him.
Which
He's
is,
been very inspired by this
which
documentary.
is
So I'm sure
wonderful. And the sermon today is on restraint, which he talks about. So I think it's going to be very exciting. So we're going to see the end of this video. We'll start a couple of segments before just to get us into it, and then we'll have a conversation about it. Well, any thoughts? Anything you particularly want to say? I have a couple of questions.
I have one thing. That is his life and his long approach to death and his ideas and how they were refused and then slowly accepted is another form of evolution.
Right. Yes. And a lot of this, I think, is the evolution of the Catholic Church.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
maybe
that's
the
what I
Christian
meant,
church,
or the
too.
world, or whatever.
Right, yes. One of the questions I told you at the beginning that I thought I would ask you is, what were your first thoughts of what God is? And what do you think now? Has it changed since you were a little kid? And I'm gonna go around the room and you can either answer or not. We'll start with you.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Thanks.
I'll give you my impression, but at the end.
Is your seat real hot?
Yeah, right.
From the time I was young, I think, without being able to put it into thought, words, it's the same as it is right now. That it is, just a feeling around me and around my relationship to the church and science, because I love that evolution is just the continuation of creation. So maybe I just have more words for it now, but it's the same feeling.
Carol? You know, I think I probably am somewhat the same. I think I got, when I was really young, we were raised outside basically. And we lived on a lake and I was outside all the time and that really inspired me. And then my father died accidentally when I was 5. I do remember this. I don't remember anything else, but I remember telling my younger sister, who was 4 at the time, that Daddy had died and Daddy was going to be in heaven. And that was it. And I was absolutely sure about that. Where I got that, I have no idea. Because we really didn't go to church. I mean, we were members of the church, but we really didn't go to church. And then as I got older, I really struggled with the church a lot. But eventually, I feel like I found my way back because I had a lot of difficulty with the theology and I just did not feel any kind of comfort in being in the church. My husband obviously brought me back into that, but since then, I always feel what he talks about, the wonderment and the power of love and in nature. And that's how I view God. I don't like the word God because I think it puts in our mind the ancient ideas, you know, the Michelangelo vision of God in the sky, you know, and so on and so forth. And So I use the word creative power of the universe, which should, I think, includes love and all kinds of evolution, the whole thing. Anyway, but I think the Jewish people had the best idea in that to have any word whatsoever, this power that you cannot name.
But I join in.
In just a minute, yes, absolutely.
I grew up in a Presbyterian church, and then I joined a Catholic church because my cousin was making her first communion and I wanted to have a dress.
Good reason.
My mother was a Unitarian, and she tolerated my being a Catholic. And then one time she was in a shoe store with the wife of a Unitarian minister. And so she said, ask your daughter to ask my daughter to come. And then I did, and I grew up there and I was married there. And then when we came here, I never really connected. And so we went, and then we moved here, and I wanted my kids to know about God and to know about the religion that we had at Wellesley. And so we came here. And now I feel like I know God.
JS, I think it's your turn. What can you tell us
Okay.
about? Yes.
Well, my beliefs in God are completely enveloped in WCC. I'm a lifer. My parents were members when I was born, was baptized there. I became a member there at the end of 8th grade. I was married there by Paul Allen, the whole ball of wax. And so in a sense, it's very difficult for me to think about God and Christ and who I am in relationship to the divine without it being intimately attached to the comings and goings at Winnetka Congregational Church.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going down our list here. Well, Jane, and then Andrew, and then Nancy and Nancy. Jane?
I guess I saw God as a child more anthropomorphically, more as a person. And now I definitely see God as a positive, loving spirit among people that kind of is present in community, and also in nature. I've been pretty taken with the whole idea of trees, communicating, so to speak. And I don't know whether you can hear me or not because I'm on an intermittent internet, interrupted internet connection. So I'll pass it on to the next person. But I'm really glad to have been able to tune in this morning.
I see God as a source of living, and it's been my everything. Based on, I always relate to where I am from and what I've been exposed to. So I have a different perception that might be uh, kind of personal because of the experiences I've had. He's my everything. So I put it that way. I cannot do anything without God.
Thank you.
Great.
You're
So I
welcome.
think we'll go here and then we'll go back. Nancy?
I grew up Episcopalian, but this was maybe, seventh, eighth grade activity. And I sang in the choir and loved the music and watched the cutest boy walk down with a cross with his white, cloak or gown. And then one day, the minister of this Episcopalian church, I could see him out on the sidewalk ringing my doorbell. I didn't like that, so I pretended I wasn't home, I was alone. And it's only when I matured and started reading history, particularly American Indian history. And now I hear, about spiritual matter, and it all fits. I mean, I am like immersed in this. What I've always felt is now more defined. And I am so excited that you thought of this, Jimmy.
Honey, Matt, I always knew that I liked you. Grew up Presbyterian. I didn't do the Catholic bit, but then I moved on and helped build a Unitarian church that I brought my children up in because I'd kind of fallen away from the church. I didn't ever believe in God when I was growing up. He was too scary for me. And my little mind couldn't handle that. So I chose not to believe. But then when I became a Unitarian, I could bring up that part in the spiritual part and find comfort in it. And mostly it's around relationships. I found it to be in the relationships that I have within the churches that I have been a part of.
Thank you. Jessica, I don't know if you want to speak to this or not.
I can just say that when I grew up, God was a parent-like figure that I would, kind of pray to, with the idea that there was a bearded man on the other side, lovingly telling me, helping me work through my dilemmas of my teenage years or whatever. But now I feel God is more energy. I see God in energy between people, energy, life force, what pushes us to act, what pulls on our heartstrings. God is in each of us, and
It's creative, it's positive, it's
kind of like
rich.
electricity. Like when you connect and there's that electrical spark, or when you have a great thought and that's like, that moment of whatever. I believe, there is a force in the universe bringing people together and kind of trying to push, but always, pushing against the other forces in the universe. Bringing it in.
Thank you.
I think of life in terms of epiphanies. And those things I'm gonna remember, not what years exactly they happened, but maybe what grade I was in. Starting off like a lot of us, growing up with a certain image of this bearded man in the sky, maybe, touching Adam's finger. So it meant that, the Father in the sky, some one thing to be obeyed, not questioned. There was Sunday school growing up at the Eastern Orthodox Greek Church and a Congregational church, between both of my parents, and then in high school doing something that they really didn't want me to do, but they let me get involved with a West Suburban Young Life, kind of an evangelical Bible study group, where we would have Saturday afternoon Bible study things where it was hard. Somebody from the evangelical side of things said, "Oh, you've got a Jewish friend. I'm sorry, they're going to hell." And then we started asking ourselves questions, and then college happened, and we saw, okay, there was learning on our own. There's another epiphany. I guess the next thing was well into adulthood, where it's not just an either or. You believe or you don't. There's something or there's nothing. Well, of course there's something. Of course there's always going to be something we don't understand. And because it can't be proven with paper and pencil doesn't mean there's not something else out there. And so we're going to continue to keep learning.
I'll just say that I enjoyed hearing about the intellectual foundations of modern Christianity in this video about Dujardin. And, you mentioned early on, Junia, that you'd read the book about instead of original sin, original blessing. That humans are not meant to conquer the earth, but to be integrated and stewards of the earth. And that evolution is not a faith buster. All of those concepts, I just valued so much watching this video. And so thank you so much, Jenny, for bringing it to us.
We really need to hold on to this vision of his hope, particularly given where we're going to be beginning tomorrow.